un bug.
When it will be... OK. Merveilleux. Donc, on continue les podcasts du jour et je tenais à vous avertir que le prochain podcast va se faire en anglais avec l'équipe de DHL Express. So, Sasha and Alexis, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
You both represent DHL, and I would like to start with you, Sasha. Can you introduce yourself to the audience and for people who are listening to this podcast, what you're doing and the company that you represent?
Sure, gladly. So first, thank you very much for having us over here. It's great to see the power of the e-commerce ecosystem in Quebec.
Yeah.
My name is Sasha Zecevic. I'm the Director of Enterprise Sales for DHL Express in Canada. Been in the logistics industry for about 20 years, involved in scaling companies to go international in Canada, US, and emerging markets of the Middle East and North Africa.
Wow.
For the last 8 years or so, I've been involved with helping a number of Canadian e-tailers and brands go international. And to date, we've helped about 140 countries to be unlocked through the power of DHL Express.
Fantastic. And is it your first time in Quebec City?
It's not my first time in Quebec City, but first time at this event, and it's a wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great event so far, so I'm happy that you like it. And Alexis, can you introduce yourself for people who are here today?
Yes, so hello everyone. My name is Alexis. I am the e-commerce national manager for DHL Express. So I'm leading the e-commerce strategy for DHL, and also I'm in charge of our key e-commerce customers for Canada.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad to be in Quebec City because I study in l'Université Laval. In Laval University, and I started working at DHL in Quebec City, and that was like 5 years ago, so I'm really glad to be back.
And you live
Quebec
here
City.
now?
Now I'm living in Montreal.
In Montreal,
Yeah.
OK, great. Same as me. OK, great. Fantastic, guys. So a couple of topics that I would like to discuss with you today. So the main topic of the discussion is key considerations for expanding your global e-com footprint. And maybe I would start with you, Sasha. We all know DHL, the yellow brand for parcel delivery that comes from outside of Quebec. But what is so unique with your company, and what do you offer different than maybe your competitors are offering?
Thanks, Antoine. So DHL Express is part of Deutsche Post DHL, which is the largest international logistics company.
Yeah.
We are present in about 220 markets globally, and specialize in international shipping. So that is one of the unique aspects, that we're truly international. We have a global network, and then we feed off that network of different countries to provide information that's relevant to Canadian shippers, both for outbound as well as for inbound shipping. When it comes to e-commerce in particular, we really treat it as the global market, but with a local flair. And what I mean by that is we provide a number of solutions, localized solutions, which help Canadian e-commerce brands go international, including various country guides. So if a customer wants to go ship to Australia, to Korea, to Japan, we have readily available guides to ship to those countries, as well as various e-commerce solutions. So one of the interesting solutions we provide is on-demand delivery, which provides complete flexibility and gives the power to the sender to decide how the goods will be delivered in the destination market. And then we provide a number of toolkits which specialize in different products and different categories of products, and how do you sell them to different countries.
And I guess in the past year, or let's say maybe in the past 18 months, a lot of things change, especially in expeditions. So how have you been able at DHL to adapt a little bit to this global situation that changed everyone's life?
That's a great question. I mean, the situation is literally fluid and day to day. I mean, for the last 2.5 years, we've seen a number of different events happen, from the pandemic to global geopolitical events, which are affecting the global supply chains.
I guess.
And we do share that information amongst different countries in the network, and then adopt it to the local usage, in this case, for the Canadian market.
Great. Alexis, I will ask you a question for you now. So for a merchant, how should they set up? How should they be set up for global e-commerce through their website? What is the process that a merchant should follow in order to be set up properly?
It's a good question. So there are different elements to consider, but if I need to resume, like first, when you offer international shipping, it's really important to show it on your website.
Yeah.
So on the landing page, for example, you can have a banner saying we offer international shipping. then it's going to be important as well to offer different international shipping options. Now we know that 66% of the online buyers want their shipment within 2 days, whatever the market. So even if you're a Canadian business and the buyer is in Europe, they want to receive their shipment within 2 days. So that's why it's important to offer an express delivery option. Another key element to consider is to have your website in multiple languages. Right now, I know in Quebec, the businesses know how to do it because with French and English, so they have already 2 languages on their business. But we know for international market, it's important to extend those languages because 40% of the online buyers won't make any purchase if the website is not in their own language. So really important as well. There is also an element with local currency, super important. So here we are in Canadian dollar, but if you ship to Europe, it's important that you have the euro currency also on your website. And the payment options offer multiple payment options because in North America, most of the online buyers are paying by credit cards, but we can see in other markets like in Europe or even in Asia, usually the buyers have, they are not all using credit cards. They have different payment options, so it's important also to localize the payment option on your website for that.
And a question for you. So you're located in Montreal. You've been working with a lot of merchants for the past 5 years with DHL so far. Have you seen that maybe it's a main problem with most of these e-commerces? They do not show on their website that they sell internationally. Is it a common issue that you can see?
So I will say also the trend changed. So before COVID, many companies were a bit more focused on domestic market. And when all the stores closed, people started really investing more and more on their website. And with that, they also realized, I believe, that they were not only a market in Quebec or in Canada, but the market is really global. So now there are many different partners that online business can use to expand their international growth, many different shipping options. So it's now more easy for the customers, so for the businesses to start doing that.
Interesting. So guys, earlier today I had a conversation with Jordan Arshinoff. He's the CEO of Expedigo. So basically he was explaining us that the main thing that he saw with his customers in the past year is, people want a good experience online when they shop, but they especially want a great experience when they receive the product. And a lot of companies, sometimes they do not understand the importance of the expedition. So I would have a question for you related to that context, Sasha. What are the golden rules of e-commerce shipping? What are the main things that these merchants need to do in order to deliver a great experience for the end consumer?
That's a great question. So, as we all know, we live in a world of instant gratification, and customers do come to expect that shipment is delivered in a perfect way, perfect condition, and on time. Yeah. Whether they are living in US, in Japan, in Korea, in European Union countries, that is the expectation. The great benefit of shipping internationally is that you unlock to different markets of the world. Usually Canadian e-tailers, when they start expanding international, they start working with the United States. That's a market of about 330,000 people, about 8.5 times the size of the Canadian market. So it's a fairly easy way to enter into the market. One of the challenges there is that it's a saturated market with a lot of competition. A
little bit, huh?
Absolutely. So what Canadian e-tailers should consider is the size of the other markets and the ease of entry into the other markets. For example, European Union, Japan, and South Korea are some of the main trading partners when it comes to e-commerce goods exported from Canada to those countries. Between those 3 markets, you're talking about 630 million people or so, which is almost twice the size of the US market. The great benefit of shipping to those markets is that Canada has a number of free trade agreements with those markets. So for example, for European Union, you have CETA, which is Canada-European Union Trade Agreement. For Korea, you have Canada-Korea Trade Agreement, and for various Asian countries, including Japan, you have the Trans-Pacific Partnership. What that does is it enables easy clearance and duty deferrals of goods, thereby opening up the market for Canadian products to go easily into those countries. Now, in order to avail of that, it's really important to consider whether the customer experience is going to involve shipping to the customer, including all the duties and charges paid. which is the preferred customer experience. And if that is the case, then to make sure to provide the correct paperwork at the onset of working with companies like DHL, and we consult with customers to ensure that that happens, so it's easy to ship to those markets.
That's interesting. So guys, I work with a lot of companies that sell in Quebec and sell in Canada as well, and the main question that I will receive most of the time is, what is the procedure that I need to follow if I want to ship internationally? So Alexis, this question is for you. Let's say I'm a company, I sell in Quebec, I sell in Canada. What are the first steps that I need to follow if I want to start to sell in Europe, let's say, or even in the United States?
Yeah, it's a good question. So first, I think, and to come back a bit on the golden rule for e-commerce and to follow with your question, it's important also to really have an international business plan. So it doesn't to be too complicated, but at least know the market you are going to start expanding your product. And for that, there is some online tools. For example, I know a website called SimilarWeb. You can put your website in it, and it's going to tell you where the traffic is coming from, what region in the world. So, for example, if you're a Canadian-based business, most of the traffic might be coming from Canada, but maybe you're going to have 5% of your traffic coming from India, 5% of your traffic coming from France. So that will be a good start to target those markets.
So start about the demand instead of your own intuition, right? Exactly. Look at where the demand is coming in terms of traffic and then do something after.
Exactly, and it's going to help you also to focus on your marketing. So you can really specialize your marketing on the European market or just on a specific country, rather than just say we are shipping in every country in the world. At the beginning, I think it's easier to really focus on a specific market. And you can always ship in other countries if you have some order, but really focused on some specific markets.
That's interesting. Fascinating. I do have another question for you. A lot of e-commerce companies saw it in the past year. Supply chain is all over the place. Costs are rising. It's more expensive than ever to buy stuff. Where this problem comes from? And I would like to have your opinion on that, Sasha. Where this supply chain problem comes from?
Good question. So over the last 2.5 years since the pandemic started, countries like China and other countries in Southeast Asia have really become the supplier for the globe, for various products. And that has caused a shift in shipping patterns, a drastic shift, which has affected all modes of transport. So if we take a look at, for example, sea freight, nowadays to move goods from China to various parts of Canada can be anywhere between 45 and 120 days in order to get the goods in. Air freight is very similar because air freight uses a lot of commercial uplift, and a lot of global airlines have scaled down their operations during the pandemic. Integrators, they use their own equipment and aircraft, and it's somewhat easier to be able to get goods in and out of the country using an integrator shipping model. There's still bottlenecks, there's still changes, governmental restrictions imposed in various parts of the world due to the pandemic, due to COVID, but we work around those and navigate around those in order to be able to move as much goods as possible.
Yeah, because I guess it's one of the main problems that you've been seeing with your clients in the past 6 months, let's say, the supply chain issue.
Yes, it is. And in speaking with a number of our larger global partners, we find that the common theme is help me ensure the continuity of my supply chain. And what I mean by that is, because of all the disruptions in different modes of transport, they look to companies like ours to try and streamline that as much as possible. So.
That's interesting. And when do you think this will be, maybe not done, but improved? When do you think that the supply chain will come back to something a bit more normal, like we were living in it before COVID? Do you think it's 2023, 2024? Any idea on that?
In 2020, we thought it's 2021, and so on and so forth. So your guess is as good as mine. But what I can say is that internally, we are utilizing a lot of additional resources, be it planes, be it additional warehousing, staffing, in order to meet the global demand as much as possible.
That's interesting. Question for you guys. Have you been there in the morning? Have you seen a little bit the conferences so far at the Journée eCommerce?
Yeah, it was great so far.
So what did you like so far? Alexis, let's start with you. Is there a specific conference that you like a little bit more than the others? Something that you came to get as an information today?
Yeah, so there were a conference talking about e-commerce and sustainability. And it's something as well that DHL is really focused on. It's part of also on our business strategy. So we even are offering some what we call our Go Green product.
Yeah.
So we have carbon neutral reports. We are doing different initiatives for the globe, but also in Canada to reduce our impact on the environment.
Yeah.
So that was for me really interesting also to see the different companies discussing about it and really what are their expectations.
Yeah. Now, this is something so important now. We actually had a discussion this morning also with different people who are going to give conferences in the afternoon, and we had discussion around that. Social engagement. What are you doing in 2022 to just be more than a brand that is looking to get more money? There's a little bit more now that people are expecting from a company. So that's super interesting. What about you, Sasha? What did you learn so far? Or maybe you will learn later in the afternoon?
Well, for me this morning, a number of conferences in French. I was a little bit limited in my ability to understand some of them, but the ability to network. I've had the opportunity to network with a number of guests at the event today, and for me that was the main benefit and the beautiful thing to see, the ability to connect in person again after 2.5 years.
It's been a while, huh?
Very much so. And in the afternoon, there are a number of conferences in English, and I'm also looking very much forward to companies like Altitude Sports and Brown Shoes and understanding their involvement in the ecosystem of e-commerce in Quebec.
Great. Sasha and Alexis, thank you very much for your time today. I think it's always fascinating to learn a little bit more about the supply chain issue, what's happening with the expedition as well. So thank you very much for that. And hopefully the rest of the day will be as great as the morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antoine.
Thank you.